If you deal with migraines, you know that search for relief can feel absolutely endless. But what if one of the best tools you have isn't in a pill bottle, but at the gym? Today, we're going to dig into some really cool research that actually ranks the best exercises for fighting off migraine pain. And for so many people, this is the big question, right? The whole cycle of medications can be just exhausting. The search for something else, a non-drug option that actually works, is more important than ever. If that sounds like you, then this explainer is exactly what you're looking for. Okay, so let's get right into it. A huge study from 2022, published in the Journal of Headache and Pain, has finally given us some clear, solid answers. For the very first time, it compares different types of exercise head to head. So here's our game plan. We'll start with the challenge of just finding relief. Then we'll look at the super study that gave us these answers. We'll rank the best options, compare them to medication, and then most importantly, we'll lay out a practical action plan you can use. First off, let's just acknowledge the reality here. Migraines are incredibly common, they have a massive impact on daily life, and for millions of people, finding a treatment that works is a constant battle. And you know what? The researchers completely get it. This quote from the study's authors really shows you how seriously they take this. It's that sense of urgency that's pushing science to look beyond the usual stuff and really explore powerful lifestyle changes, like exercise. You know, we've all heard for a while that exercise can help with migraines. But that's kind of vague, isn't it? Is a light jog the same as lifting weights? Well, this huge new super study was designed to answer that exact question. What kind of exercise actually works the best? So to do this, scientists use this really clever method called a network meta-analysis. The best way to think of it is a study of studies. It pools all the data from a bunch of high-quality trials to create one much more powerful result. And it lets them make these smart, indirect comparisons, like ranking different exercises against each other and even against medications. It's pretty cool. And just look at this scale we're talking about here. This was not some small observation. The analysis pulled together data from 21 different clinical trials. That's a total of 1,195 migraine patients. That gives these findings some serious weight. And this is a great way to visualize just how powerful this kind of study is. See, each circle is a different treatment, like strength training or a placebo, and the lines show the direct comparisons from the original studies. What the meta-analysis does is use this whole network to intelligently rank all of them, even the ones that were never tested directly against each other. All right, let's get to the part I know you've been waiting for. After crunching all that data, the study came up with a clear, no-nonsense ranking of what works best for cutting down the number of migraine days every month. And wow, the results show a clear winner. Right at the top with the biggest reduction in migraine days is strength training. It cut down monthly migraine days by an average of 3.55. That's followed pretty closely by high-intensity aerobic exercise and then moderate-intensity aerobics. The data couldn't be clearer. Strength training is leading the pack. So, okay, this is the really critical point. We see how exercise stacks up against other exercise, but how does the winner, strength training, compare to a common prescription drug used for migraine prevention? This is where the results get really eye-opening. Okay, just take a second and look at this. In this huge analysis, strength training cut down migraine days by 3.55 per month. Now, compare that to the medication topiramate, which reduced them by just under 1 day. That means in this analysis, strength training was over 3.5 times more effective. That is a massive finding for anyone looking for non-drug options. So the big question is, why? Why does strength training seem to work so well? Well, the researchers have a few ideas. For one, it directly targets and strengthens the neck and shoulder muscles. And that's critical because the upper part of your neck is a known neuroanatomic hotspot for migraine. So strengthening that area might help calm down the pain signals. It could also help with something called central sensitization. And hey, increasing lean muscle is also linked to having fewer migraines. This is all amazing information, but honestly, the most important part is figuring out how you can actually use it. So let's turn all this research into a practical, real-world plan that you can talk about with your doctor or physical therapist. First, a quick definition you'll need to know. It's your 1 rep max, or 1 RM. It sounds complicated, but it's not. It's simply the absolute most weight you can lift just one single time for a specific exercise. And you don't even have to actually do it. There are calculators online, or a trainer can help you estimate it. It's just a benchmark to get you started. The studies laid out a really clear, progressive plan. You start light at about 50% of your 1 rep max, doing more reps. You aim to train about 3 times a week. And the key here is what's called progressive overload. Every week, as you get stronger, you just nudge the weight up a tiny bit. It's a really sustainable and safe way to build strength. So, what should you actually be working on? Well, the trials focused on a full body approach, but they paid special attention to those areas that are directly connected to migraine anatomy. We're talking neck, shoulders, and upper back. Things like rows, presses, and lat pull downs were all key parts of the routine. Okay, so after looking at all this data, from the problem to the science to the plan, what is the single most important thing to take away from all of this? I think it all comes down to this really powerful quote from the researchers themselves. Regularity is the key. It's not about being a world-class athlete or pushing yourself to the absolute limit. It's about consistency. It's about just showing up. That is what makes the real difference. Ultimately, the whole goal here is to empower you. This research isn't just an interesting fact. It gives you a scientifically proven, super effective, non-drug option that you can bring to your next doctor's appointment. It lets you be an active, informed partner in your own treatment plan. And that leaves us with one last, kind of provocative thought to chew on. We usually think of prescriptions as something a doctor writes on a pad and you get filled at a pharmacy. But this research really challenges us to ask, when it comes to migraine relief, could the right workout actually be the most powerful prescription of all?